Title action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of penal code.
The October 3rd, 1995 verdict in the O.J. Simpson murder case sent shockwaves across the country. Millions of Americans were outraged. They believed Simpson got away with murder. Now, in his longest interview since the day he was arrested for killing Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman, O.J. Simpson speaks out.
If I had committed this crime, the last wall I'm going to go knock on would be his wall. If somebody's got blood all over him, you can't climb through those trees and climb a fence without blood getting on everything. It just would be impossible to do.
Ron and Nicole were brutally murdered on June 12, 1994. Yet, despite criminal and civil trials, dozens of books, and countless hours of television commentary, the debate continues. An earlier edition of the True Hollywood Story, Countdown to Murder, documented the events of that day in June 1994 and featured an exclusive interview with O.J. Simpson. Response to that program was overwhelming. Viewers wanted to see more of O.J.'s interview. Was he telling the truth? Or is O.J. Simpson a murderer? Now you can see and decide for yourself in this candid interview with the man acquitted of murder in the trial of the century. His version of the events of that tragic day presented without rebuttal. This is O.J. Simpson, a special edition of the True Hollywood Story.
My basic attitude is, if Cato had told Mark Furman that he heard noise on the tennis court, that the glove would have been found on the tennis court.
The dream of being one of those.
For life's ambition was to be discovered.
Never recover from the public scandal.
O.J. Simpson's 17-year relationship with Nicole Brown was blessed with two beautiful children, Sydney and Justin, and rocked by charges of spousal abuse.
911 emergency,
Can you get someone over here now to 325 Gretna Green? He's back. Please.
Okay, what does he look like?
He's O.J. Simpson.
The marriage finally dissolved in 1992, but O.J. contends his relationship with Nicole after the divorce was anything but hostile.
I don't know anyone. I don't know a friend. I've had friends get divorced, family get divorced. I don't know anyone who went through a contentious financial divorce that was so close and friendly as Nicole and I. I mean, we ate dinner together 3 or 4 nights a week.
Their relationship may have been cordial, but Nicole told friends that O.J. spied on her. In the summer of 1992, after she had filed for divorce, Simpson watched as Nicole shared intimate moments with restaurateur Keith Zlomzowicz. Simpson doesn't deny he was there. He just downplays the relevance.
I even, as everybody knows, came to her house one night to see her and saw her in the window as I went to the front door, big wide open window in the living room with Keith Zlomzowicz. Everybody knows about that. Still, we didn't argue about it. I told her how I felt. You got to not do it at the house. No argument about it.
O.J. claims he also shrugged off an alleged affair Nicole had with his buddy, football star Marcus Allen, in 1993.
Even a year later after our divorce, when she came and asked me to get back together and just out of the blue confessed an incident that happened with Marcus Allen. Didn't hold it against her. We didn't fight about it.
Despite their marital problems, Simpson claims he still cared for Nicole.
I love Nicole. She's the love of my life. As much as I told her I didn't want to talk to her, I don't think any friend of ours, all our close friends, even her parents, never thought that probably after another 6 months or so we would have ended up back together or something. Because what's strange is that during all this time, we never told each other we didn't love one another.
But following their divorce in 1992, O.J. says he became concerned with Nicole's choice of friends, especially Faye Resnick, then 35 years old.
I would say in the last few months of her life, though, there's something wrong. There was something decidedly wrong, and I feel it might have to do with Faye's influence with drugs.
Simpson claims that Robin Greer, an ex-hooker who co-wrote a book about working for Hollywood Madam Heidi Fleiss, was also a member of Nicole's circle of friends.
I just didn't think that women who can go and write a book about call girls should be spending the night at my house, and guys who were supplying them drugs should have been hanging around the house with my kids there. But other than that, she was always focused on the kids. I like to think first and foremost, with those few little exceptions, and even then I thought she was focused on the kids. It's just poor judgment. And I've had my share of poor judgment, trust me. You know, not quite like this, though.
Must be a snob.
When this special edition of the True Hollywood Story continues, O.J. Simpson accounts for his alleged strange behavior on the day of the murders.
Now I'm really pissed at him, and I went and told him.
And later, O.J. talks about incriminating evidence that leads to his arrest for 2 counts of murder 1.
So you would think if I'm bleeding, all my golf bags or all the things that I'm carrying, there'd be something special.
Yes, sir.
The dependable sheriff,
I wasn't giving it the shot that I should have given it.
the bumbling deputy,
We were just hoping we'd stay on the air.
the colorful citizens,
Unfortunately, she was kind of a troubled woman.
and the peaceful town where they lived.
Everything stemmed from Andy on that show.
Why would anyone want to leave?
I couldn't get a job for a long time.
It's the story you haven't heard. Andy of Mayberry, this Sunday at 9 on the True Hollywood Story.
Make a move or make myself a drink. Make a move.
Pre-mixed Kahlua drinks to go. B-52s, mudslides, White Russians. They keep the party going.
You can rationalize it all you want, but eventually you're gonna get caught.
There's a tan minivan in the parking lot with its lights on. Whoever owns the tan minivan, your lights are on.
Okay, you're busted. It's time to check out the redesigned Mitsubishi Montero Sport. It's only the family car when the family's in it.
Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both.
And be one traveler.
Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could.
And both that morning equally lay in leaves.
No step had trod in black.
Two roads diverged in a wood.
And I?
And I.
I took the one less traveled by.
And that has made all the difference.
Monster.com. For work, life, possibilities.
All moved in. What's for lunch?
Chicken and star soup.
Condensed soup? I used to eat that too. And then I got out of the high chair.
You're an adult now. There's a better tasting soup. Progresso chicken noodle. With all white meat chicken, bigger vegetables, just the right seasonings.
See the difference?
This is better.
Now, if you could just eat without the bib.
It's time to go to the better taste of Progresso and win one of 10,000 great prizes. Enter the It's Time to Go Progresso Instant Win Sweepstakes.
Daily Variety says viewers can't get enough of True Hollywood Stories. The True Hollywood Story, now on every night at 9, only on E!
Must be a snob.
25-year-old Ron Goldman and 35-year-old Nicole Brown Simpson were brutally murdered late in the evening on June 12, 1994. From the beginning, 46-year-old O.J. Simpson was the prime suspect. On June 17, 1994, O.J. was arrested and charged in the killings. When Simpson finally went to trial in January 1995, his behavior in the hours before the murders became central to the case. The prosecution alleged that O.J. acted moody and volatile throughout a day which began with an early morning golf game.
I was really, really tired, and I got up and I probably got to the golf course between 6:30 and 7. I know we didn't have much time because by the time we got there, we were about to tee off. As
this special edition of the True Hollywood Story continues, O.J. Simpson vividly recalls a run-in with one of his regular golfing partners who was frustrated after a series of bad shots.
We're all talking about him, and I hit a crappy shot. Now I'm a little pissed. Right? Here's a guy that shouldn't have been hit, and he blamed me for a bad shot. And when I get to my next shot, he's in the middle of the fairway, right where I'm trying to hit the ball. So I hit the ball, and I hit another crappy shot. Now I'm really pissed at him, and I went and told him, man, you're totally out of line. You know, what the hell are you doing down here in the middle of the fairway? And he argued a little bit. And then by the next hole, it was like we're laughing at each other, right? You know, kind of teasing one another about what that just transpired. This is something that happens every day in our golf game, you know. But once again, because it's the day before of these murders, or before these murders, whichever way you want to go on that, they tried to make it sound like I was in a dark mood. I said, wait, I didn't start this argument. He was the guy that started this argument. And then I can't tell you exactly, but I would say it was about noon, maybe a little after noon, I left the Riviera and thought I'd go see a friend of mine named Paula Barbieri.
Paula Barbieri, then 27, is an actress and model who has appeared in Vogue and in layouts for the Victoria's Secret catalog. Paula and O.J. began seeing each other shortly after his divorce in 1992. According to her book, The Other Woman, Barbieri planned to end her on-again, off-again relationship with Simpson, and even left a Dear John message on his answering machine the morning of the murders. The prosecution claimed Simpson was distraught over the impending breakup and repeatedly called Barbieri following the golf game. O.J. claimed he never picked up Paula's Dear John message.
So I'd call, and I may have called more than once, and once again, this is something that they try to say he was frantically trying to get to someone, but if you try to drive from the Riviera Country Club to the freeway, you'll notice your car phone will go dead, and I think the records really reflect that.
O.J. never reached Barbieri, and after taking a nap, he rushed to his daughter Sydney's dance recital. Simpson arrived shortly after 5 p.m. At the murder trial, Nicole's sister Denise testified that Simpson acted strange at the recital. Candace Garvey, wife of former baseball star Steve Garvey, offered similar testimony. Simpson disagrees.
Now, this is a lady who I saw on the stand as a friend of Nicole's and I guarantee you she's no more a friend of ours than you are. I mean, we're pleasant when we see her. I don't know where she lives. I know nothing about this girl. And I do know that she had walked up to me at one point while we're in this conversation and had said, OJ, I had my baby or something. I said, oh yeah, Nick, because Nicole had told me that, you know, Steve Garvey's wife had a baby. I said, yeah, Nick told me. And then I went back to my conversation.
The prosecution argued that in addition to his strange behavior, Simpson's relationship with Nicole's family was strained. But O.J. claims his rapport with the family was good, especially with Nicole's parents, Lou and Judita Brown.
As a matter of fact, during the break, at the end of the recital, Lou and I was joking. And the subject matter that we were joking about was when Judy had come up to me and said, somebody, you're not going to dinner with us. I said, no, I got to stay away from your daughter. I'm teasing with Lou about it. Once again, you saw what they were attempting to do early on with Denise and Candace Garvey was to try to say that I was in this horrible mood. And people say there's no more miracles. You know, when this guy who happens to be there from Oregon, was killing time, happened to be across the street filming his old grammar school for his kids, you see, just that was my mood. What you see on that video is my mood, and without that video, everybody in America would have thought that, oh, I was in this dark, horrible mood, right? Which I wasn't. And anyone who spoke to me that day would say I wasn't.
When this special edition of the E! True Hollywood Story returns, O.J. examines his relationship with one of the trial's key witnesses.
You know, people have this impression that I lived with Cato Kalin, or that Cato lived with me. Cato lived out back. I mean, I never saw him. He never saw me. I never saw him.
And still to come, O.J. gives his theory on who may be linked to the murders.
Macho Man.
I was like, wow, that's John Stamos, and he's fine.
Drumming Man.
We called John
to see if he wanted to play with us.
Family man.
One night in the hospital, was there by my side and prayed for me.
He works hard to make it look easy.
He's a deeper person than people realize.
Find out how John Stamos stays tall, dark, and humble.
Be happy with what God has given you.
Real stars, real stories. John Stamos Celebrity Profile. This Sunday at 7, only on E!
Lots of folks are trying their hands at minivans these days. If you'd like to build one too, why not make it easy on yourself? Just use the pattern everyone else seems to be using. Dodge Caravan, the most innovative, most imitated, most trusted, best-selling minivan ever. Get 0.9 financing for 60 months or $1,500 cash allowance on Dodge Caravan.
What's my secret fantasy? The object of my desire. It's deep, dark, and very chocolate. It's a luscious brownie. So rich. I could make a meal of it.
Slim Fast Meal on the Go bars unwraps rich chocolate brownie. Indulge in its intense sensation. So good for you. A satisfying way to help you lose weight and feel great. Slim Fast Meal on the Go bars.
Take your fantasies anywhere.
It's partying with a reggae groove as E gets wild on Jamaica. Wild on Jamaica, tomorrow at 10, only on E!
I am strong, I am invincible, I am woman.
Oxygen, the first on-air and online network for women, by women. Available now on Media One, or call your cable or satellite provider to get Oxygen.
I always wanted to be a nurse.
They volunteered.
It was hot, it was sticky, it was dangerous.
They performed.
I wasn't prepared to look in a man's face and know that he wasn't going to make it.
They survived.
It was the loneliest time of my life.
For the first time on television, TLC brings you face to face with America's forgotten daughters.
He died in my arms calling me Mama. He did not die alone.
Vietnam, Women at War, premieres Monday at 9 on TLC.
This special edition of the E! True Hollywood Story continues with O.J. Simpson's exclusive interview and his account of the evening of the murders. At approximately 7 p.m. on June 12, 1994, Simpson returned to his estate on Rockingham Avenue in Brentwood following a dance recital which included his daughter Sydney. He was greeted by the man who'd been living in Simpson's guest house, a 35-year-old wannabe actor named Kato Kalin.
I saw Kato more in this month period of time than I had seen him in the previous 6 months combined, because I was never around, and when I was around, I never saw him.
Kato Kalin became a key witness in the murder trial, and many believed he was a close friend to both O.J. and Nicole. But O.J. disputes that assumption.
People have this impression that I lived with Kato Kalin, or that Kato lived with me. Kato lived out back. I mean, I never saw him. He never saw me, I never saw him. If someone would ask me in April or March, who lives in your guest house, I would say, well, someone's in my guest house. I wouldn't even been aware that somebody was out there. But in any event, so he is talking to me about that. He asked me about the recital, and we talked about how great Sydney was. And then he asked, how is Nicole? Because Nicole had really been giving him a hard time the previous 5 months. Something else, you hear Kato say, oh, Nicole and I was friends. No, Nicole hated him with a passion.
Following their brief discussion, Kato asked O.J. for permission to use the jacuzzi. Simpson said okay, then went inside to prepare for a midnight flight to Chicago.
And then I think he left, and then I just started, like I always do, made sure, went and checked on what suit I might wear, and threw a few things together upstairs, and at some point, I came down and I went out and brought my golf clubs and put them on the bench in front of my house. So I brought my car in, pulled the thing out, and packed my golf bag, at least put the clubs back in the bag, and left them out in front at some point in here. Yeah.
According to OJ, he stopped packing at approximately 8 p.m. and picked up a telephone. First, he called his daughter Sydney, and then called Christian Reichart, fiance of Nicole's friend Faye Resnick. OJ was not a fan of Resnick's, but he knew her drug-related problems were very troubling to Christian.
Chris had gone through a pretty tough time, you know, and he had taken Faye to the rehab, and I called him, and he was upset about a number of things with Nicole and with Faye and some of the things that have been going on, and talked to him and told him to hang out, told him I'd be back in town Tuesday, and we'd go out Tuesday night or something. You know, Paula had a lot of great friends, and, you know, maybe I'll get Paula to get a friend, and we'll go out Tuesday night.
After the phone calls, Simpson decided to go out for a hamburger, but only had large denomination bills.
But in any event, I went to Cato and asked him, could he change, I think, a $100 bill? And he said no. I think he said he had like $72 or something like that. But he said, oh no, here's 20, you know, but I'll give you that. He gives me $20 because I needed to buy a burger and I needed to have some money to give to the guy at the airport, you know, when I got out of the car. Tipped the bell captain or whatever you call it, sky cap. And he said, oh, so where you going? I said, I'm going to get a burger. He said, can I go? I said, sure.
OJ and Cato took Simpson's Bentley to a McDonald's in nearby Santa Monica. About the same time, the Brown family was leaving the Mezzaluna restaurant in Brentwood. Nicole's mother, Judy, left her glasses behind. A short time later, a friend of Nicole's, waiter Ron Goldman, offered to drop the glasses off at Nicole's condo. Meanwhile, OJ and Cato returned from their burger run. It was now 9:40 p.m.
So I had let him out in front of the house, and I put the car away. By the time I turned to go in the house, he was already walking down the sidewalk, going to the back, which, yeah, I didn't think about it one way or the other. It was just no thought. Bye, I'll see you, have a good trip, or whatever he said. Fine.
Sometime during the next hour, between 10 and 11 p.m. on June 12, 1994, Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman were brutally murdered. When this special edition of the E! True Hollywood Story continues, we hear O.J. Simpson's version of his activities during that crucial hour.
And my M.O. has always been, once I get things sort of ready, I always wait till the limo driver comes before I go in what I call high gear.
And later, Simpson attacks the evidence that made him look like a killer.
I've lived in this house at that time for 20 years. I would have been aware that there was only one other guy on the premises. I would have assumed there was only one other guy on the premises if I had committed this crime. The last wall I'm gonna go knock on would be his wall, you know.
This weekend on E!
Welcome to Jamaica!
It's partying with a reggae groove as E gets wild on Jamaica. This weekend on E!
Wow, that's John Stamos, and he's fine.
He works hard to make it all look so easy. John Stamos Celebrity Profile. This weekend on E! Let E! sneak you inside a sexy fashion shoot.
It's so beautiful here.
And see what has the paparazzi poppin'. Victoria's Swimsuit Secret, the E! Original Special. It all happens here this weekend on E! We live for this stuff.
Of all the things you want to do someday, only one is complete and absolute fun. A Carnival cruise vacation. Book now for special offers. Call 1-800-CARNIVAL or any travel agent today.
I'm going to go to the play place.
Dreaming of a Disney cruise vacation? Then hurry to McDonald's and try the extraordinarily tasty Big Extra sandwich. The Big Extra is McDonald's newest, biggest burger. Or try one of your other favorites, and you could win an unforgettable Disney cruise vacation. There are still hundreds and hundreds to win. Who gives you the chance to win the vacation of your dreams? Did somebody say McDonald's?
That was some slide.
How do you make meatloaf that's ordinary? Extraordinary? Add a can of Rotel. Rotel's zesty blend of tomatoes and green chilies adds the perfect zing to most any recipe. Add a can. Lose the bland. You can Rotel the difference.
Buying a car will never be the same, because now you can check out any car you want and see how it stacks up to the competition whenever it's convenient for you. With our website, even when the showroom is closed, we're still open. GMByPower.com.
To help you find the perfect gift for your Valentine, Gifts.com does some rather thorough testing. The gift. Gifts.com. Just the perfect Valentine's gifts. Get a free Valentine's Day bouquet with your purchase of $50 or more.
New Dannon fruit on the bottom is better than ever. Why? Now, it's just bursting with a more delicious taste of real fruit. And now it's smoother and creamier than ever before. A texture to excite the soul. And it still has all the wholesome and healthy things you already love about Dannon. New Dannon fruit on the bottom. Now, a tastier, creamier Dannon.
Men, remember, women are like flowers. You talk to them, you care for them, and you water them. And you water them, 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 and you...
Time magazine declares fine television. The E! True Hollywood Story. Now on every night at 9, only on E!
O.J. Simpson went on trial for the murders of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson in January 1995. The prosecution presented evidence of Simpson's alleged physical abuse of his wife and his strange behavior on the day of the murders, June 12, 1994. But that evidence was overshadowed by one crucial question. Where was O.J. between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. when Nicole and Ron were attacked? In this special edition of the E! True Hollywood Story, Simpson gives his version of where he was and what he was doing during the hour of the murders.
Somebody's planning to go kill somebody, they're calling a prospective girlfriend, you know, at a time that supposedly they're on their way to kill someone, which is ridiculous.
O.J. Simpson and house guest Cato Kalin returned from a trip to McDonald's at 9:40 p.m. 20 minutes later, Simpson claims he finished packing for a midnight flight to Chicago and then tried to call his girlfriend, Paula Barbieri.
I'm thinking it's about 10 o'clock or whatever time it was, but I said, well, I'll give Paula a shot because if she's around, she can drive me to the airport. You know, this would be the last chance to see if she'd drive me to the airport, and I called and she wasn't there. And hadn't called me all day, and I left some, oh, what is it now? Which is what I did often with her, right? So then I go out and I open the trunk of my car, and there were some real obvious beat-up balls, and I dropped them right at the foot of the Bronco on the little grass where I chip a lot, and chipped them away, maybe 4 or 5 balls. And of course, they made the big deal. He's playing golf at 10. I wasn't playing golf. I was just chipping away some bad balls, you know, something that every golfer does, with a yard anyway. I always wait till the limo driver comes before I go in what I call high gear. Something every housekeeper would tell you, even since then, I still do it today. And then I go into real high gear and I'm running around. I'm always late going to the airport.
Limousine driver Alan Park arrived at O.J.'s home to take him to the airport at approximately 10:25 p.m., 20 minutes ahead of schedule. He later testified that he did not see Simpson's white Bronco. But Simpson claims the Bronco was parked on the street, that it was the limo driver who was not where he was supposed to be.
At one point I look over and I notice that it's late, you know, and my limo driver's not there. And I'm trying to think, was it 10:35 or something like that? And or 10:40, I don't really, I just know I registered my limo driver's late because for all of these years, my limo driver gets there a quarter before the pickup time is, and I know that's going to give me 20 minutes or a half hour to really get my act together.
Alan Park testified he drove to the Ashford Gate at approximately 10:40 p.m., where he repeatedly buzzed O.J.'s house. There was no answer. The limo driver then looked to the large home and saw just one light on inside. Simpson claims from Park's vantage point, his home does indeed look dark and deserted, even when many lights are on inside. According to Simpson, he was upstairs getting ready for the trip to Chicago.
So I jump in the shower. Now, when I'm in the shower, I hear the phone ring, you know, and I don't know if I heard it once, because sometimes you can't hear the phone ring, you know, but my phone for the gate is different from my regular phone. So if I look out the glass door of the thing, I can see it's the gate. There's no point going, you know, I'm gonna finish getting dressed.
During the criminal trial, the prosecution countered by saying Simpson was not at home, that at approximately 10:50 p.m., he was sneaking back to his house after committing a cold-blooded double murder. Prosecutors claimed that in a walkway behind Cato Kalin's guest room, Simpson dropped a bloody glove after running into the air conditioner. Cato testified he did hear a loud noise, but Simpson says it wasn't him.
I've lived in this house at that time for 20 years. I would have been aware that there was only one other guy on the premises. I would have assumed there was only one other guy on the premises if I had committed this crime. The last wall I'm gonna go knock on would be his wall. You know?
After hearing the loud noise, Cato Kalin came outside to investigate. Alan Parks saw Cato. He also claimed he saw another figure walking through the shadows toward the front door. A figure dressed in dark clothes, about 6 feet tall, weighing 200 pounds.
Couldn't see me come
O.J. admits he was that figure, but insists he wasn't trying to hide.
Drop my bag, signal to the limo, because I'm not sure. I don't know if this is a brand new limo driver. I don't know. I go back in the house. As I go upstairs, the phone is ringing again. And I picked up the phone. He says, a limo driver. I said, oh, yeah, I know you're here. And then I just started getting a few of my things together, getting dressed, and I brought my other bag down.
Alan Parks said he never saw the shadowy figure signal to him, and he only saw the figure walking toward the house.
Right where Alan Parks said he saw a person, not coming across the driveway. The reason he didn't see anybody coming across the driveway, and he only saw him at this point, because you couldn't see me come out the front door where he was sitting. Until I got to that point, then you can see a person.
When this special edition of the E! True Hollywood Story returns, O.J. talks about mysterious gaps in a bloody trail.
Somebody's got blood all over him. You can't climb through those trees and climb a fence without blood getting on everything. It just would be impossible to do.
Yes, sir.
The dependable sheriff.
I wasn't giving it the shot that I should have given it.
The bumbling deputy.
We were just hoping we'd stay on the air.
The colorful citizens.
Unfortunately, she was kind of a troubled woman.
And the peaceful town where they lived.
Everything stemmed from Andy on that show.
Why would anyone want to leave?
I couldn't get a job for a long time.
It's the story you haven't heard. Andy of Mayberry, this Sunday at 9 on the E! True Hollywood Story.
What is desire?
What is desire? It's complicated. One person always wants the other one more.
Desire is the new shape of sexy, only at Victoria's Secret.
Islands of Adventure, the most amazing theme park ever created. Now thrilling families at Universal Orlando. Step inside the whimsical world of Dr. Seuss. Explore the real-life Jurassic Park. Ride with Spider-Man in the world's most spectacular 3D adventure. Come visit the all-new Islands of Adventure, one of 2 must-see theme parks at Universal Orlando. 2 parks, 2 days, 1 great vacation.
Night and day, you are the one.
Feel confident all day with Lady Speed Stick Invisible Dry. Helps keep you fresh and dry with no white residue. Protects for 24 hours.
Night and day.
By men.
I have an announcement to make. I don't just color my hair. I revitalize it with Excellence Cream from L'Oreal, the non-drip color cream. Of course it protects, always has. But now Excellence is even better, with a ceramide and protein formula to revitalize your hair for rich color, incredible body, more oomph. And does it ever cover grays? Not that I ever had any. Excellence Cream from L'Oreal, because I'm worth it.
I'm missing some sections.
Like what?
Like sports.
Not on the basic model.
Where's the arts?
It's another 10%.
Okay, there's no business section here.
No, you bought the basic paper. You want upgrades? We can talk.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard either. At AutoWeb.com, you take control. With unbiased research and dealers that put you first, you'll get your car on your terms. AutoWeb.com. Take the wheel.
Can I at least have the comics?
I gotta check with my manager.
This portion of E is brought to you by AutoWeb.com. Take the wheel.
Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson were murdered on June 12, 1994, in one of the most sensational crimes on record. In this exclusive interview with O.J. Simpson, he talks about the crime and his claim of innocence, despite having no one to back up his alibi. Simpson says he was at home between 10 and 11 p.m., the time of the murders, but even his now famous house guest, Cato Kalin, could not verify O.J.'s whereabouts.
It was certainly not unusual for him not to know if I was in my room or not, even though they made it such that it seemed suspicious that he couldn't verify that I was in my room. But if you asked him, he would say, you know, for 6 months, I couldn't verify if he was in his house or not.
It was almost 11 p.m. when O.J. Simpson came out the front door of his home to meet limo driver Alan Park. Cato Kalin was outside too. He was worried about some mysterious thumps he had heard on the wall of his guest room. Standing nearby, Park was ready to rush O.J. to the airport.
And I think he's already picked up my bag, my golf bag and the bag I had just brought down. And Cato, I see Cato, and Cato says to me, "Did you oversleep?" I said, "Oh, no, I'm trying to pack. You know, I'm rushing now. Did you oversleep?" Yeah, I don't even know if I reacted to it or something. But then he started talking about a noise. But while he's talking about a noise, I'm not really paying attention to him. I'm trying to make sure that, oh, there's my cell phone in the kitchen. Where's my, because I just heard it was raining in Chicago. Where's my, you know, did I wet thing? And And so I'm in the house, out of the house. Cato's talking about whatever the heck he's talking about. I'm trying to tell Park, you didn't put my bag on top of my suit bag.
The prosecution alleged that when Simpson left the crime scene, his clothes were covered with blood. To hide the evidence, they said O.J. stuffed the clothes inside a travel bag, a bag he wanted no one else to touch.
And I come back, and Cato had said something about a bag being by the, where I told you all my balls were, by my bag. I said, "Oh, I'll get it," because I went and got 2 wet things and put it in the bag and came back to the front of the house. And it was at that time Cato was talking about noise. And I said, "Well, asked him for a flashlight." And he's asking the guy for a flashlight, and the guy don't have a flashlight. I said, "Well, look in the cupboard in the house. There's a flashlight in the cupboard in the house." Now I can see that Cato's really kind of serious and seemed a little afraid. So I said, "Okay, I'll go this way, you go that way." But I don't have time to do this. I got to get to the airport, right? And when he doesn't have a flashlight, I said, "Well, okay." And I go in the house, and as I come out, I start to tell him about the alarm. And I said, "I'll call you." You know, I said, "You're going to be here? I'll call you."
Simpson and Alan Park jumped into the limousine. As they left for the airport, Park testified that he didn't recall seeing Simpson's white Bronco parked on Rockingham Avenue. But since Park also claimed he hadn't seen the Bronco when he arrived, Simpson says the vehicle was there all the time.
I thought it was germane that when he said he backed to the Rockingham gate, he didn't do it along the curb, he did it in the middle of the street. And I always said he did it in the middle of the street because the Bronco was there. He also states that as he drove out of the driveway, he didn't see the Bronco, right, or notice it. So I'm saying it would have been impossible not to notice it if you're looking both ways, unless you're going to say somebody brought the Bronco there after I went to the airport.
The testimony of limo driver Alan Park was considered very damaging. But O.J. believes Park was influenced by prosecutor Marcia Clark.
And I always thought Alan Park was just a guy who got caught into a situation, and I knew how much pressure he must have been getting from the prosecution simply because of some of his testimony early on. If you might recall, Marcia, in the very beginning, when Marcia said, "Did you see a Bronco parked on," he said, "Well, I really didn't notice. I didn't notice any cars on Rockingham." But by the time we got, you know, this was in the earlier hearings and whatever that is, by the time we get to the trial, Marcia tried to take him. I really wasn't looking for cars on the street. I wasn't noticing anything. And as I say, in the beginning when he was honest, No, he didn't notice it one time or the other. But as Marcia hammered and hammered, then yeah, I may have noticed it.
As he traveled to the airport, Simpson says he became worried about possible home intruders.
As we're going down the freeway, I said, boy, Cato seemed, now what was Cato talking about? Well, he really seemed so-and-so. And then I, got to the thing. I said, I better call him. And I called him and said, did you find anything? He said, no. I said, well, when you close the door, put the alarm, set the alarm. And I gave him the alarm code.
According to Simpson's defense lawyers, when O.J. arrived at the airport, he was acting like a man in a hurry to catch his red-eye flight to Chicago, not a killer making a quick getaway.
When I got to the LAX, there were some guys had asked me for an autograph. I said, wait, guys, I got to get this checked. I checked my bag, and as I'm going through the door, I saw them, and I realized I didn't give them an autograph. So I walked back over to them and said, hey, man, I'm sorry, I'm rushing, and I gave them an autograph. Then when I went in, a couple other people asked for autographs as I was getting there, and, I got on a plane and saw a couple of friends on the plane, people I knew, talked to a couple of guys in first class and the pilot. And
police and prosecutors allege that following the murders, Simpson left a trail of blood leading from the victims to his Bronco, then up his driveway, and finally into the front hallway of his home. But Simpson's defense team said that no one noticed any cuts on O.J.'s fingers during the flight that night. Simpson claims that is important. Also important, he says, are those places where blood was not found.
So you would think if I'm bleeding, on my golf bags or all the things that I'm carrying, there'd be something, especially on my white rugs going up to my bedroom and stuff. You would assume that there would be something. I thought it was strange that if I reputedly had committed these crimes and gone down to neighbors and climbed the fence, and I was bleeding so profusely, that why is there no blood drops going down the neighbor's side, going back to where the glove was and that whole walkway? You would think there'd be blood drops, and you would think if you ever go back there at night, it is pitch black. I mean, pitch black. If somebody's got blood all over them, you can't climb through those trees and climb a fence without blood getting on everything. It just would be impossible to do.
When this special edition of the E! True Hollywood Story continues, O.J. Simpson talks about some incriminating evidence that backfired and helped him get acquitted.
My basic attitude is, if Cato had told Mark Furman that he heard noise on the tennis court, that the glove would have been found on the tennis court.
Weeknights on E! At 6:30, Steve Kometko and Jules Asner deliver E! News Daily. Then at 7, Emmy's on the scene with Fashion Emergency. At 7:30, The Search is On with Carol Groh and Scott Lasky. It's Search Party. Then at 8, Sparks Fly with Hal and the crew on Talk Soup. At 8:30, AJ Benza uncovers mysteries and scandals. And at 9, it's the story you haven't heard, the E! True Hollywood Story. It all happens here, weeknights on E! Don't miss a thing.
Good evening, sir. Your finest table? Reservation. Perhaps you'll find it under Washington. George Washington? Sir, that's only $1. Only $1. Don't you know that with 10, 10, 220, all calls up to 20 minutes are only 99 cents, and just 7 cents a minute after that. Plus, there's no monthly fee.
Great rates and no monthly fee?
All day, every day. Oh.
Walk this way.
Dial 1010-220.
Is it possible for a car to speak to a higher intelligence?
We can expect up to an inch of snow and a high of only 30. Overnight flurries will...
As Media One moves forward with Project Broadband, bringing you the latest in entertainment and communications technology, customers like you have had a lot of questions. One of our most common questions is whether or not we've received your payment. Rest assured, if you don't hear from us, that means we've received it. If you'd like to check the status of your account, try out our automated services. Simply follow the prompts on the phone to check your account balance or confirm an appointment without having to speak to a representative. We appreciate your patience and know you'll enjoy the benefits of broadband.
Now your cable company can help make the internet work for your business.
I attended one free seminar and got all the facts.
The growth of my business is just a click away.
Online ordering, coupons, reservations, even maps.
It works great. Now my cable company can promote my business online.
To attend an e-commerce seminar for your business, call now. Brought to you by Media One.
Make the call.
In the dark hours after the bodies of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman were discovered on that June night in 1994, detectives began their gruesome work. And O.J. Simpson quickly became their #1 suspect. In this special edition of the E! True Hollywood Story, Simpson asserts the police were wrong in accusing him of the crime. One reason, O.J. says, was their claim that his white Bronco was parked haphazardly in front of his home.
You see the pictures? I mean, the LAPD come up with this cockamamie story that, oh, they were concerned about the Bronco because it was parked cockeyed. I think I could have won almost a parking award for lateral parking if you look at the pictures of this car. I mean, it's parked as normal. You can drive down Rockingham right now, and I guarantee you, you'll see cars that weren't parked as straight as this car was.
Los Angeles detective Mark Furman was a key figure in the investigation and in the trial that followed. Furman arrived at the crime scene on South Bundy at 2:10 a.m. on June 13, 1994. 3 hours later, he went to Simpson's home on Rockingham Avenue, a short distance away. Simpson says there were contradictions in Furman's account of his activities that night.
Furman is a man who has stated on the record, you know, in his words, and that he is not the kind of guy that would go to a crime scene and sit around and do nothing and wait for the detectives to come. That he was a man of action. He would do things. You know, he's not going to sit around and wait. Now, and then he wants us to believe that he sat around Bundy for 3 hours doing nothing.
Police found a brown leather left-hand glove at the murder scene. And Furman testified he found a similar right-hand glove smeared with blood on Simpson's property behind Cato Kalin's guest room. That glove, according to Simpson, was planted by Furman.
I've often said that if it was, my basic attitude is if Cato had told Mark Furman that he heard noise on the tennis court, that the glove would have been found on the tennis court. I thought in the very beginning when I was sitting in jail and had come out of my shock and fog that was the best evidence for me. And there was other places to get in my house if I wanted to get in my house, so why would I knock on a wall and coincidence? It's almost like, hey, make sure you look here. Even Furman states that he wouldn't have never went back there if what's-his-name hadn't told him he had heard a very distinct knock on the wall. So in the beginning I thought that I knew Cato because when I left was honest about what he heard. So my assumption, and probably pretty much today, is that initiated the glove being found there.
Defense attorneys labeled Mark Furman a racist, charges the detective denied on the witness stand. But audio tapes of Furman making racist remarks to screenwriter Laura Hart McKinney were entered into evidence. Furman was caught in a lie, his credibility as a prosecution witness destroyed. Simpson says Deputy DA Marcia Clark was warned that she was playing with fire.
And once again, I think everybody knew that this glove thing was a phony baloney thing. Even the DA, now that we're away from my court case, you find that some of the superior DA people the first week had doubts about the glove and about Mark Furman for that matter, and they expressed those to Marcia. Even though she claimed today that she didn't know about Marcia, we hear these DA people saying they went to her right away and told her.
Besides searching the grounds of Simpson's estate on Rockingham Avenue, where the bloody glove was discovered, police also searched Simpson's home. Simpson says a videotape of his bedroom, taken the day of the search, does not show the bloody socks detectives claim they found there. He is convinced the police simply planted the incriminating evidence.
Now, there was a few things on my bed from my suitcase and stuff, but I would have not left, you know, especially there. Why? I mean, it just didn't make sense. And I think it was proven beyond a doubt that the video cam that filmed the room showed there was absolutely, strangely enough, the camera stopped right when it got to that spot, and then about 4 feet later started again, which I thought was pretty suspicious. I'm pretty sure the jury did, because the police knew on that video cam there was no socks there. Yet they claimed to have picked the socks up after the video cam had been in the bedroom. So where were they? Where were they when the video camera was there? I'm sorry, I grew up in a small project house with 4 kids and my mother, and we had to be neat. Otherwise, you're trampling over everything, right? So I don't think neat is a negative quality. But everyone who's ever worked for me know that that's not my MO to do it. And as I said, my rush was not to, my rush at the end was just throwing my things together. I'm not sure, but I don't think I had on black socks at that time. I think I had put on tennis shoes and stuff when I was hanging around the house in the late afternoon after I'd come back from the recital.
When this special edition of the E! True Hollywood Story continues, O.J. Simpson reveals who he believes is linked to the savage murders.
A classic beauty and a gifted actress.
After summer of '42, it was like a cavalry charge after this girl.
This model of perfection was marred by deep insecurities.
They did shock therapy to get me out of that.
Doomed marriages.
She was vulnerable.
And a dark secret.
My mother lost custody of me, but nothing happened to him.
How did Jennifer O'Neill defeat the demons that threatened her life?
I just wanted the pain to stop.
It's the story you haven't heard. Jennifer O'Neill, tomorrow at 9 on the E! True Hollywood Story.
One day, that little boy won't reach for your hand anymore.
Dad! Hurry up, come on, let's go!
So how are you going to hold on to him? Maybe with the memories you share. So come be part of a year-long Walt Disney World Millennium Celebration and make memories you'll hold in your heart forever. Just call 1-407-WDisney.
Celebrate the future.
Every 24 hours, you get a whole new chance to take on the world. Get yourself ready with Carnation Instant Breakfast. So delicious. With 21 vitamins and minerals and the energy you need to rise and shine all day. Carnation Instant Breakfast from Nestle. Great days start here.
Switch styles.
You need a switch to 1-800-CALL-ATT. You can save big bucks for that collect call. 1-800-CALLATT. Same low rate, every minute, everywhere.
Yo, T, bring me my red velvet jumpsuit.
Keep dancing or make myself a drink.
Pre-mixed Kahlua drinks to go. Mudslides, White Russians, B-52s. They keep the party going.
You're about to see a toothbrush do something rather unusual. Introducing the Colgate Navigator. It bends wide open, so its bristles gently adjust to your teeth for a thorough clean. The new Colgate Navigator, bent on cleaning better.
Dodge Dakota brings you a startling new advancement. Doors, great big ones, on the driver's side and the passenger side, each with windows that go all the way down. So what's the big deal about 2 great big wide opening doors? Nothing, but 4 is a different story. Real truck, real doors. Dodge Dakota Quad Cab, different.
This portion of E! is brought to you by Dodge. In a perfect world, everything would be different.
On October 3rd, 1995, a jury found O.J. Simpson not guilty of murder after an extraordinary 9-month criminal trial. But 16 months later, following a civil trial, O.J. was found liable for the wrongful deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. He was ordered to pay $33.5 million in damages to the families of the victims. Despite the verdict, Simpson maintains that Nicole and Ron paid for someone else's mistakes.
I think it was germane that Nicole's best friend, who she had never had an argument with, just a week or so before this, had come to me begging me, a core fisherman, to take Nicole and the kids and get out of L.A. You know, her concern was Faye and whatever was going on.
Faye Resnick is a 41-year-old Beverly Hills socialite who was popular with a free-spirited party crowd. Resnick met Nicole in 1992, and the two women often hung out together. They were best friends, according to Resnick, but O.J. doesn't buy it.
Why would Faye Resnick, a person who knew Nicole for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years at the most, after her and I was divorced, she likes going on TV saying, oh, I met him 5 years ago. Hey, I met the Gerald Ford 5 years ago. What does that mean? You know? Yet she writes a couple of books about allegedly Nicole's life. All of these other girls will tell you that Nicole would not confide in her. She never trusted her, even though they hung out and partied together.
Faye Resnick was a party girl with a taste for expensive things, including cocaine. In fact, just a few days before the murders, Nicole and Resnick's fiance, Christian Reichert, convinced Faye to enter the Exodus Drug Rehab Center. Simpson believes Resnick owed money to her drug suppliers, and that these debts, which Faye denies, made her and some of her friends prime targets for violence.
I've always felt that Faye Resnick, the answer is her. I mean, people always want to avoid this. This girl was in a panic about her money. She obviously owed some money. She had been doing drugs heavily. You know, originally she made some claim that she had done $30 worth of crack, cocaine, or freebasing, but once we got the records from the place she went, the day that they had put her in, a few days before these murders, she had said for the last 2 months she had been doing it every day.
Resnick learned of Nicole's death while still in the treatment center. Convinced O.J. had committed the murders, she was shocked and worried. Simpson allegedly told her on more than one occasion that he would kill Nicole, and Resnick feared that knowledge could get her killed. Simpson says Faye's story just doesn't add up.
I found it interesting that she said that second week when she got lost and left the country that her life was in danger. Well, if everyone thought I had done this out of rage, I was in jail. Why would her life be in danger if I'm locked up, right? So I don't know. She, you know, for her to come to Nicole's house that week, for Christian to get her out of his house, for her to end up in Nicole's house, for her to go into rehab, and for Nicole to be dead a few days later is you know, I know Faye has something to do with it.
Because of Resnick's drug problems, her credibility was in doubt, and the prosecution never called her to the witness stand. But Simpson still believes Resnick's troubled past was somehow tied to the murders.
Most of the people who love Nicole, who hasn't tried to make money from these murders, who is closer to Nicole than Faye, all feel that it has something to do with what Faye was involved in and what Faye may have got Nicole involved in. I don't have any doubt of it.
Faye Resnick adamantly denies any connection to the murders. In the wake of the trial, she wrote 2 books and is currently at work on another book. O.J. Simpson remains in the Los Angeles area, and his battles with the courts continue. Simpson was successful in gaining custody of Justin and Sydney, his children with Nicole. But in the aftermath of the 1997 civil trial, the court ordered the sale of O.J.'s home and most everything else he owned to help pay the $33.5 million in damages awarded the Brown and Goldman families. Simpson is appealing that verdict. And what about the murders on June 12, 1994? To this day, O.J. Simpson insists he is an innocent man, that the killer or killers of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson remain at large. Sadly, the truth of what happened that night may never be known.